Hi everyone, Sarah here with my week 6 update following the ketogenic diet. Unfortunately my video didn't work again, so I'm filming just before I was getting ready to go to bed and the lighting's terrible, so apologies for that. I'll check next week before I carry on with my day. But yeah, this week was pretty good. I'm feeling like it's becoming sort of normal to follow this way of eating, that I'm able to go about my business and not think too hard, and it just feels kind of like what I do now, so that I'm able to attend normal things and come up with better solutions. And I don't have that desire to eat as much as I did before, which is a new thing for any type of diet I've tried before. That I can look at things and I'm really conscious of what it'll do to me, and like I know it will be delicious, but at the same time I don't have that like little voice telling you to do it. I think it's just curbing my cravings a little bit, just having the high fat or something like that. And I also really think the glucometer's helping me to stay on track, because I know that it'll affect my numbers and there's no running away from that if I eat something bad, and I really enjoy seeing those numbers go up every day. And I don't want to set myself back sometimes. So that was one of the really good things this week, is that I had my highest ketone reading and my lowest blood glucose reading. So my highest ketones was a whopping 4.6, which of course 1.5 to 3 is supposed to be the optimal range for this type of diet or this way of eating. But I think over 5, over 3 is fine. It's just not necessary, from what I've heard. That was exciting, but it was in the afternoon, and I'd just been held up, so I hadn't had anything to eat all day. So I was just interested to see what my body was doing at that point, and so it was. I was pretty impressed with that number, and then my blood glucose the last couple of days has been right down to 3.5 was my lowest, and it came up with a little red arrow on my glucometer, which I didn't even know was there, obviously saying that my glucose is pretty dangerously low or something. If I was diabetic or something, it might have been of concern. That's exciting, because I feel like it's really, everything's moving in the right direction and as it should be. And that's really good to see. So I was a little bit disappointed with my weight this week, just because earlier in the week the scales dipped lower than what I am now, and I felt like I'd stuck really well, that I hadn't slipped or anything, so that I felt like it should have continued to go down rather than going back up. But I know the scales are unreliable, and they do have these kind of fluctuations. It's hard to see a number that you're really excited about and then have it taken away from you before official weigh-in day. But that's okay. I just sort of felt like after, I think it was Tuesday, that I had the good number, and then I felt like after that I just was really bloated and retaining fluid. So you never know, maybe one of these weeks soon I'll have a really good week if I can drop that extra water. And I think that's a problem that I'm having, that I'm not consistently drinking large amounts of water this week. It just wasn't organised, and the day just seemed to pass without having drunk as much as I should have. So that's something to work on again, and that might help with the fluid situation. It's still, if I looked, or if someone else had lost the same as what I've lost this week, I'd be telling them that that's really good, and don't be silly, and of course it's going to fluctuate and stuff like that. So I'm just being dumb, and I did have a really good number, really. So I lost 0.9, so that's almost 1 kilo, and I think that's, I've lost my piece of paper, hang on. What is it, 1.98 pounds, so almost 2 pounds. So that's a very respectable loss. So that my weight now is 112 kilos, or 246.9 pounds. It's just that I saw 111.3 on the scales at one point, so I was just excited to be that much closer to my mini goal of 110 kilos. So 2 kilos to go to get to 110, so that I think even if I continue at this pace, it'll be about 2 or 3 weeks Yeah, so I'm really hopeful that things will keep moving the way they are. And I'm down 4.7 centimeters. I think most of that was from my chest. Yeah, so just a little bit off most places, I think. So yeah, a pretty good week, pretty standard. I did have one function last night, but yeah, I'd been held up all day and not had much of a chance to eat. All I've had was a coffee with some cream in it. But then, yeah, I brought my own alcohol, even though it was an open bar, so I brought some gin and some diet tonic water that I found at a garage sale. So yeah, though I stuck to that mostly, and ended up having a couple of wines, which was kind of accidental that I was holding husband's drinks and then he would come back with another one or something, and yeah, so I did end up, they had really nice New Zealand wines and stuff, so I had, I think, 2 wines. And the canapes, I tried to stick to things that were reasonably low carb, or at least looked it, so that you can never be quite sure at these things what's actually in them. But I tried to mostly avoid things that had bread and that sort of stuff. Like I didn't have any of the sandwiches or that kind of thing. And there was some little toasts that had sort of a cream cheese mix on the top, and I just ate the cream cheese stuff and gave the bread to my husband. So far this morning, my numbers were really good still, like down at 3.5 for the blood glucose and I think 3.5 for the ketones. So that was the fasted one. But I have found before when I was drinking or way off plan that it was a couple of days after that they dropped. So it'll be interesting to see if that stays good for the next few days. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with my progress, and it's feeling like it's becoming a lifestyle, and not being so, it's kind of exhausting when you're starting a new thing, that to always be conscious of it and to always think of new approaches and how to do things. So yeah, next week I've got one dinner tomorrow night, so one of my friends is moving back to Australia, so that it's her choice where we're going and that sort of thing, so there's not much I can do about that, but I certainly want to attend anyway. So obviously I'll try and choose something that's less carby off the menu, but that's not always possible here in Tonga, and that asking for changes to the menu's not very common and usually not very successful, and that you'll often find the thing that you asked for it without in the dish, so there's a bit of a communication breakdown sometimes, and sometimes more trouble than it's worth. So I think it's a lifestyle and this is part of life, so that there will be the occasional thing like this, so that I'll try and choose something good. But there was talk of maybe going to a Chinese restaurant, so I don't know, with sauces and stuff like that, it's often tricky to get something that doesn't contain added sugar, or any of the fish sauces and soy sauces and stuff like that. But we'll see how I go, and I'll just monitor my sugar after that. So yeah, everything's pretty good, and next week I expect everything to be even better. Next week I was thinking of trying to figure out on this video software how to do a bit of a comparison. So I thought I'd put my week 0 sort of photos next to each other or something like that. If I'm feeling really fancy, I'm going to try and work out how to overlay them, so that we can see if there's any change. So I feel like things are getting looser, but it's not noticeably looser in any particular area or something like that. So I feel like I'm losing reasonably evenly. And in the past, when I've been dieting, I've found, my chest gets a lot smaller, one of the first things, but with this way of eating, it doesn't seem to be the case, and that I still feel pretty similar. So yeah, that'll be interesting, but I'll try and work out how to do it technically, so that I can include that next week. But have a good week. Bye.